Hello, everyone, and welcome to Performance Anxiety's very thankful sixth online reading event. Performance Anxiety is an online reading series hosted via Skype on the third Thursday of every month at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. My name is Tom Snarsky, and as one of the co-organizers of Performance Anxiety, I'm happy to be the MC of tonight's reading, just 1 week in advance of the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday. If you'd be interested in sharing your work at a future event, you're more than welcome to get in touch with me on Twitter at Tom Snarsky, TomSnarSky, or via email at tomsnarsky, same spelling, at gmail.com. You can also get in touch with Kristen Garth, the other co-organizer of the series, and we'll let you know how when she shares her poems with us later this evening. At each of our events, we feature up to 10 different readers who each have up to 5 minutes to share a selection of their writing with us. We usually have folks who read live in the Skype call here with us, but in the spirit of the name Performance Anxiety, sometimes readers choose to share their work with us via somewhat non-traditional means. And our last poet for the evening will share his poems in absentia in just this way. But more on that later. To get things going, I am delighted to introduce our very first reader, Jessie Lynn McMains. So Jessie Lynn McMains is a multi-genre writer. Their writing has appeared or is forthcoming in many publications, including OK Donkey, Petrichor, Tiny Essays, Moonchild Magazine, and Barnhouse. They are the author of several chapbooks, and their book-length poem, The Loneliest Show on Earth, is forthcoming from Bottlecap Press in February 2020. They were the recipient of the 2019 Hal Prize for Poetry and were the 2015 to 2017 Poet Laureate of Racine, Wisconsin. They are editor and publisher of Bone and Ink Press. You can find their website at recklesschance.net or find them on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at rustbeltjessie. Welcome, Jessie Lynn. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Performance Anxiety.
Thank you. This first poem I'm reading is an excerpt from The Loneliest Show on Earth, which, as you announced in my bio, will be appearing in February of next year. My divinatrix, bearded soothsayer, farseer, shuffles the cards. With such fluid grace they soar through the air with the greatest of ease, just like the girl on the flying trapeze. One lands face up in my outstretched palm. I look and laugh. Three of swords. Hello, heartbreak. Hello, sorrow, my old friends. That heart permanently pierced by steel as though something went horribly wrong in the blade box. I've begun this story before the bearded ladies even asked me to. It is the hardest one to tell because you and I never follow a straight timeline. Our narrative is a loop-de-loop through a burning hoop, is a ride on a broken carousel. That's where I began, the carousel, our wedding night. We took a ride on the carousel, I tell her. He and I side by side. He on a black horse and me on a white swan holding hands. Faster and faster and faster we spun, calliope music warping with the speed, our haunted carnival wedding band. There were fireflies, I remember, the fields out past the midway lousy with their yellow-green glow, and they swarmed us as we flickered through the June bug night. Some landed in my hair, a beetle-jeweled tiara for a June bride, and I thought it meant our union was blessed. How could I have been so foolish when, before that, there were the knives, the saws, the chains, and your favorite, the disappearing act. Oh, you, foul-mouthed and mustachioed, top-hatted and tattered tails, you snidely whiplashed me the night we met. Chained me to the train tracks, held me there hostage until I paid your ransom, gave up my heart. Oh, take me, I'm yours, I cried, and you untied me, swept me up just moments before the train came. I trembled in your arms as the iron horse blew by, so close we could feel the hot wind, the grit on our faces. Oh, you, my magician, my knife thrower, you rescued me from a regular life and whisked me away to the circus, made me your circus wife, called me Miss Fortune, and strapped me to your wheel, locked me up in your box of blades. Every night you flung the knives almost too close, showered my bare arms and legs, my rouged up cheeks with their steel kisses. And the audience pushed each other out of the way to get the very best view as you sawed your lover's heart in two. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed every minute, which is why I ignored your nightly disappearing act. How you reappeared each morning in my arms, smelling of the dancing girl's hot jazz perfume, the fire breather's acrid gasoline lips, the bearded lady's sandalwood balm. Then came the carousel, the make it official. I do, my honey, do. Then came the daughters we never had. Came the broken pianos, gardenias, and high wire walkers tumbling from the open sky. You disappeared just a little longer each night until you became a master illusionist, got so good at that shuffle off to Buffalo trick that you poofed yourself right out of my life, never to be seen again. Oh, you're still my midway mister, circus husband number one. We never rode that carousel backwards. I still wear the tarnished flea market ring you gave me. It ties me to you like a chain to a track, and the train's a comin'. I shacked up with a snake oil merchant, but there's no elixir could ever cure me of this love sickness. Oh, you worm in the tequila, you ergot in the rye, you knife in the back, you fiddler of the damned. I'm yours until this lousy world burns to the ground. This other one I'm going to read is just a short one from one of my recent chapbooks. It's Cento, made all up of lyrics from 90s songs. It's called At Least When You Cry Now, He Can't Even Hear You. It's the sad girl Cento. Is that why they call me a sullen girl? Sullen girl? Boy, I think you're confused. I'm not Persephone. I don't want to look, but I'm already hooked on jealousy. Can't forget the things you never said, and you've decided to love me for eternity. Sometimes I feel deceived and I weep at your feet. My ever-present suicide, my grief, my grief, my grief, my grief. My grief I've wished on the little blue flames under your brow. Birds that scream for territory can learn to sing, Dear God, life ain't kind. I can feel it in my bones. Even when I was 17, prettiest mess you've ever seen, I had a terrible broken heart. I wake up in the night, my stupid fuck, my blushing bride. I saw hips, I saw thighs wrapped around your feet, wrapped around like good little roses. You've done nothing so far but destroy my life. Breathless and torn, all drunk on my love. I want your warm, but it will only make me colder when it's over. Foam can be dangerous with tape across my mouth, and it rains and rains, but it's calm under the waves in the blue of my oblivion.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Those were beautiful. And just as a reminder, Jesse's book-length poem, The Loneliest Show on Earth, that first excerpt you heard, is forthcoming from Bottle Cap Press in February of 2020. Again, you can find them on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at Rust Belt Jesse. Also, you can steal my knife thrower as an epithet for the one you love, which I think is just great. Our next reader is Jack Bedell. So Jack B. Bedell is professor of English and coordinator of creative writing at Southeastern Louisiana University, where he also edits Louisiana literature and directs the Louisiana Literature Press. His latest collections are Elliptic from Yellow Flag Press in 2016, Revenant from Blue Horse Press in 2016, and No Brother This Storm from Mercer University Press in the fall of 2018. And we're very impressed and lucky to have him on Performance Anxiety as he served as Louisiana Poet Laureate from 2017 to 2019. So without any further ado, Jack, thanks so much for being on Performance Anxiety. Take it away.
Thank y'all for having me. It's great to be here. I thought I'd read a couple of poems, spirit poems for my daughter that are in a current manuscript that I'm working on. And I should probably say the references. The first reference is a mist spirit called Black Rush. That's a shapeshifter. And the second reference is Azen. That's a northwestern wood spirit that laughs like children to call people into the woods and then, kills them and eats them, that kind of thing. So This first poem is called Black Rush. My daughter notices it first, a black spot in the marsh grass. The more we stare into it, the more it glides back and forth along the blank. She watches the darkness without fear, her eyes focused beyond the exposed roots of the waterline. I tell her a story my father told us about a shadow in the marsh that could see inside anyone it came across. The shadow could read a person's eyes for meanness or for a kind lift before 2 breaths were taken. It knew you, even if you didn't. If you held anything other than yourself dear, even a bird dog or doll, the shadow blew across your face like a winter breeze, took all moisture from the air. If, though, you hid grudges or brokenness in your chest, it became a black bear to claw you in half. The whole while, she eyes the black rush, knows it isn't coming any closer, can't cross water to join us in our boat. Its shimmer in the gold reeds is no harbinger for her, not as long as the sun shines on her shoulders. It's a long time tonight, she says, and in the dark, black isn't black anymore. Next poem is called Like Azen at the Edge of the Woods. What if my daughter took 2 steps too many into the river, lost her balance on slick rock? It would not matter there's no undertow, not with catfish or copperheads pressing bellies to the mottled bottom. And even if the water had no interest in taking her, the forest surely would, with its mama bear nosing our tent skirt before dawn, its tar shacks cooking meth up the hill. So much claw and tooth and black to disappear any of us quick, eat the muscle off our bones. Nearly enough to muffle the sounds of laughter glowing from inside these trees, or hide the outline of a girl against the wood's dark trunks.
All right. Thank you very much, Jack. Those are beautiful. I loved how many bears made appearances in those poems. And again, as a reminder, Jack's manuscript in progress. I don't know what the future holds for that, but you can find his most recent collection, No Brother, This Storm, from Mercer University Press, released in the fall of 2018. So without any further ado, our next reader is a friend and collaborator of mine, Joe Yanni. First time I'm getting to hear Joe's poems live, so I'm very excited. Joe is a poet and performance artist from Toronto. You can find Joe on Twitter and on Instagram at WTF is a poet, all one word together. So Joe, take it away. I'm really excited to hear these.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks everybody for being here and having this happen. It's always fun to do. This is my second time here. Just want to let everybody know that Jack Spicer, Walkman, and Joshua Beckman their books are in spirit in the room with me, so they're kind of helping me out here. Here we go. Ballad embedded, bolded names abandoned, italicized arms and legs. In the garage, wet runaways. On the curbside, skip over don't. Another error after rainfall in window. Take the window in your mouth-made shapes red. Ready? Readable? Heard a fraction, just a fraction. Scalp scratching, a gaggle of want. The enters through itself. Cloudy or clear? Supple mental work, other stories. A body reflective, recording possibilities. Read the end first. This one's called A Prompt Ghost. A prompt ghost fulfilled empty space. In the kitchen, prophecy interrupted clumsy syllabary. Repaired as a model or also as a UFO. Mirror grass. Money for a side of pancakes. Delight, usually an unusual gift. This one is about a spider that crawled up my hand on a bus ride. Out of nowhere came hallucination, bright land, always moving, surprise, real fear unattended left focus wayside, behind the book, the room around, the floor hardly, a blur, a tingle moves, a neighbor turtlenecked and blue. Does favor add flavor to gravity? Unstrange how, wow, with you, what would this without them be? Certainly something else. I'll just have one more. I'm going to dedicate this one to Tom. Thanks for being my friend. It's called A Magnificent Lie. You may not think it's possible, but you are, my friend. It is what I was built for, drawn in by rain. It is simple and ugly, this field we will make famous, this tissue, English, torn, muddy, distance, voiceless mass. Between our cries, exhales, sniff, exhales. Thanks, yo.
Oh man, it means so much to get a poem dedicated to you at one of these things. That's so cool. So thank you so much, Joe, for joining us and for being a great friend and collaborator. I want to mention, not only can you find more of Joe's insights, poems, awesome stuff in general on Twitter at Instagram at WTF is a poet, but also keep an eye out for his and my collaborative review of Rosebud Ben-Oni's new book that is coming out from EcoTheo Review pretty soon. So these poet peer reviews, we hope will continue in that spirit. So without any further ado, we're going to keep on keeping on, and I get to introduce the co-organizer of Performance Anxiety, Kristen Garth. So Kristen Garth is a Pushcart, Best of the Net, and Rissling nominated sonnet stalker. Her sonnets have stalked journals like Glass, Yes, 521, Luna Luna, and more. She's the author of 14 books of poetry, including Pink Plastic House from Maverick Duck Press, Candy Cigarette Woman Child Noir from the Hedgehog Poetry Press, the forthcoming Flutter Southern Gothic Fever Dream from Twisted Press, The Meadow from APEP Publications, which I had the privilege of reviewing, and Shut Your Eyes Succubi, also from Maverick Duck. So you can follow her, but also get in touch about anything performance anxiety related on Twitter at Lola and Jolie, LOLAANDJOLIE, and her website is kristengarth.com. Thanks, Kristen, as always, for making performance anxiety a thing, and I'm looking forward to hearing your poems tonight.
I'm going to read 3 poems at first that are a little bit confessional, and then I'm going to read some more genre stuff at the end. But the first is called Good Bones. Lockable, your pink pearlescent door, though you forgo such resistance, more and more, each slamming stranger, secret friend, follows blueprinted passageways, arched within your architecture towards portico of ghost. Termites birthright devour a diminishing host. Inside out, few would know. Good bones, skull-fucked old windows make phantom moans, echoing demolition crews who got damaged interiors to motley crew. Girls, 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 while you listen, wonder what remains of you when construction is through. What widened, hollow skeleton awaits, new wear and tear in satin latex paint. And the second one is called Guilty Pleasure. Almost everyone who wanted me, my childhood, strip club, family, said it strategically, just so I would hear. Be sure the innocence had disappeared. Quiet compliments, easy to deny. This lust requires an alibi. Gentility, hideaways, the VIP, rules I must obey. Plausible deniability. Why does it matter if they see how close you really are to me? Guilty girls hear that quite a lot. Reminder, what we know, never forgot, our formative years. At 5, my own guilt was identified. What you do to us, you will have to hide. And the third one is called Lots of Endings for a Princess Face. When men request a topless dancer with a Disney princess face, there's just a few of you inside this place. You're informed if you are one. irrespective of what you have ever done with women, men, or they have done to you. You wear a mask of skin, maybe untrue. Men rent to feel the sway of power next to something naked thin they could devour, savor, or save between their teeth. Remains of fairy tales, feast make them prince or beast. Both of these you have seen, charcoal, virgin wool, gabardine, who take a wife whore victim from neon light disgrace. There's lots of endings for a princess face. And the next poem I'm going to read is from a funny little project of mine that got started by a prompt from Detritus Online to write about stripping from a non-human perspective. And now I'm writing a whole speculative porn sonnet manuscript right now. So this is one of those poems, and it's called We Like Wet Planets and We Cannot Lie. A ballad to the earth from the inhabitants of Nantucket Row. We like our planets voluptuous and wet, a population they half forget, used, deprived of actual power, just pets unleashed at happy hour, hotel abused and golden showered, minuscule enough to be overpowered by cowards who control this space, holes lubricated, buffed and laid to waste, way they treat, even you, disposable, when they are through, as if you're common, terrestrial whore, human man-child domination since hieroglyphs. Your abduction will not require a gun. They've weaponized the other ones. Women, fucked again, ready for the world to end. And the last two that I'm going to read are from Flutter, Southern Gothic Fever Dream, which goes on pre-order tomorrow. And so I've been doing some little recordings online to support that. And I'm going to read two real quick that are a little fun, and I hope everyone will enjoy this book. Rosemancy. Did he believe you were a bloom? Not rash, abashed, adolescent doomed, entombed upstairs, crimson-cheeked, viewed through cylinder glass, pistol pink, peaked pointillism amuck by candlelight, to pluck or pollinate demonic birthright. Did he see buried thorns, subcutaneous to liberate like horns, erupting, furious, bleeds a season mortality recedes? Did he see himself in you? His powdered lip, a golden hue, amaretto, eyelids half closed, pollen undertaste of tulip, tuberose, swallowed demonology, a bedroom above adult gossiping, a better medicine is blossoming. And the last one is called Mad Honey. A dozen saved to wear in hair, crown, azalea, bushes bared, while you deprived your petticoat in late desire, sundown, strategic, float. A powdered coat, derived of bloom, pulverized, easily consumed, is feather brushed upon damp skin, avenged two deaths, almost a mother, twin, perfumed, poison, composed, rhododendron, tinct twinge without your clothes, through pine forest toward antennaed horns, bee affectation, bug adorned, pollinates, immortally adored enchanted lips. Temptation, ancient drug slew an army 1st century BC. A garden teaches useful history. Thank you.
Wow, I think if those last poems show anything, it's that no one can do genre right now quite like Kristen can. So that was Kristen Garth once again with some poems from ongoing projects and recent books. And I just want to remind you that, again, you can find her to talk about poetry or about performance anxiety stuff on Twitter at Lola and Jolie, LOLAAND. Jolie, and on her website, KristenGarth.com. Her newest book coming out is that forthcoming Flutter Southern Gothic Fever Dream from Twisted Press. So we're moving into the latter half of our reading order now, and I'm happy to introduce a returner to performance anxiety and a pressmate of mine. I'm very happy to be able to say that, Sarah Matson. Sarah Matson's poems can be found in the journal Petra, Data Bleed, Ghost City Review, and elsewhere. Her chapbook, Electric Grandma, is available from Another New Calligraphy, and her chaplet, Forgotten Women in Science, is available from Damaged Goods Press. Sarah lives in Chicago with her rad husband and cats and tweets as @Skeletor Sarah, take it away. ANC represent.
Hi there. Thanks so much, Tom and Kristen, for having me back. I'm so thrilled to be reading with all you amazing writers tonight. My very first poem tonight was recently published by Abridged, and it's an issue that has a whole bunch of really fantastic pieces. I highly recommend checking it out at abridged.one. So Abridged published this poem, and it is called Why I Want to Visit Chernobyl. Purell-handed warden, stop abbreviating 5 years as half a decade. 33 years is nothing, is a speck, is a microbe, is me yelling in Ukrainian, is me learning Ukrainian, dosimeter noises. I'm in slightly irregular Nike socks, sipping organic, ordering hyaluronic acid, waiting for kaiju to burn my insides out. Nearly gone, all that remains scorched bucket of bleach, or absence of, the half-life of web cast over faces of the spider's children. Dosimeter noises. When little ones clutch at knee around a raging chemical fire and ask why we didn't flood the streets with love and reason, with science and heartbreak, painted gas masks exposing vibrant underbellies, a writhing system. Hungry eyes beg, what was it like? A cotton-swathed lazy boy, to love effortlessly, cradle my babes in arms, exhale a different kind of smoke, wink, wink, blink fingers, errant cat whiskers in packing tape, all while slashing wide the throats of women. Maybe I'm just here to scare you, but when the rippled chest of celebrity brings more attention, we're already gone. The present is a golden hour time capsule, velvet-lined and ripe, beneath a rotted gymnasium. Dosimeter noises. I refresh my palate and yours with generations of puppy laps, clutched to lead chest, short legs walking in space, walking underwater, walking on the invisible. I never thought about it, honestly. Where do you shit in Chernobyl? My next poem tonight is also from the Chernobyl project that I've been working on, and this is called Cafe. Cool waitress nylon, pleated waist to knee, name tag mini, pocket square shielding nipples from radiotropic eyes or steel fortification. Make the sound with your mouth, but don't listen until it's already gone. Abyss spilled across a stained glass coffee, landscape trapping fistfuls of charred wire, rod tips glowing between knuckle scars and tarnished ideology, scruffy dogs and cold nose scraps begging. So my last poem tonight is going to be from my chapbook, Electric Grandma, and this poem is called A Bushel and a Peck. A calfskin turkey gobble, anhedonic decrepit whispers in cursive, luxurious as smoking topless in your own bed. Stolen cancer behind a rotted weeping willow, rainbow styrofoam ceiling, hiding weeded blueberries and scented markers, learning poker basics under a fishnet gazebo, impersonating jumping beans over coffee-toothed laughter. Once, she burst in an airport, drowning coconut patty-stained palm trees and glossy, orange-bordered magazines with bloodied white Broncos in freeze frame. You do nice things in such a mean way. Irritated gray carpet, sliding layers of skin from elbows and knees. Tiny imprints from even tinier toes across her chest. She said, "You've always been tall as a tree, and twice as shady. Thank you so much, Tom and Kristen, and all the amazing folks I got to read with tonight. I am Sarah Manson.
Indeed, you are, and you are like, one of the absolute like top in the game for describing clothes, because I wrote down fishnet gazebo and I was like, wow, fishnet gazebo clothes, reaching out to describe other things. And as an owner of slightly irregular Nike socks, that struck a chord with me too. And Sarah, as a reminder, has her chapbook Electric Grandma, where you heard that last poem from, available from Another New Calligraphy. And if you want to connect with her on Twitter, you can do that at Skeletor Writes. So our second to last ish reader for the evening is Danielle Rose, who's a poet that I got to meet personally earlier this year when she actually visited my classroom and talked to some of my students. So Danielle Rose lives in Massachusetts. Her work can be found or is forthcoming in The Shallow Ends, Sundog Lit, Pigeonholes, Barron Magazine, and Glass Poetry. Take it away, Danielle. Very excited to hear your work tonight. And just a quick mic check. I think you might be muted, possibly.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No worries. Glad to have you. Take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Tom and Kristen. These are 3 poems, and I really like to just get right to it. If the body is a prison house, where is the warden? I have some complaints about the plumbing. The idea that the body is a prison house to which the soul is condemned for past misdeeds is attributed by Plato to the Orphics. They ask if this is my body, and I say yes. It might start with the conspicuous absence of childhood photos, then a process of testing for misidentification. Questions that begin with, oh please, suddenly a hot iron scratching my stomach. And so I am learning to call unpleasant histories by their real names, such as what I demand of love and that I used to be a boy. To think that if this body was a prison, what happened when I escaped? I know that poetry is not light, and that we do not need another word for empty. I still do not know how to say that he put his hands all over me, or that I wanted to like it even though I did not. To think a dove will fly 1,500 miles to fuck, and sometimes I can't even leave the couch. Even Plato does not want to admit responsibility, so he blames someone else too. If I believed in the 9th step, I might want, and then count the number of bottles like rings in a tree to determine my age. Because to make restitution is economic, here someone has to give and another must take, so we might make commerce or sacrifice measured by how many apologies I can fit in my mouth. And you aren't even there, because this is all fuck off hypothetical, like screaming at God or understanding the self, which are both ways to avoid the question of justice. If these arms were lengthy enough, they could stretch all the way to our beginnings, like an ancient tree or that 13-year-old boy falling from it, who used to be me, just as drunkenness was once me, how disappointment was once me, and how I was every hurtful noise. How do we grow to be able to touch where everything started, to give restitution without worry or fear? Because I am terrified of looking into a shattered mirror and seeing monsters wearing my old face. How to write a poem while attending my first AA meeting in over a year. Firmly grasp that the truth is fragile. For instance, one could give any name, or not even be an addict. I will believe them, and that is beautiful. Remember, each meeting is a variation. Voices desperate to lose themselves in each other, Same book, same collection plate, all the different ways they weigh sin, and how I don't care that regulars make plans for coffee, discuss healthcare, or that I never really chose a higher power. I am counting the exits from this basement while the man sitting beside me asks, "And are you married?" I just smile because I cannot stomach to break the truth the way I used to break the truth. So maybe our names aren't real in the same way that my heart will sometimes stop. Perhaps this is what I mean when I say that a poem is always there, my worry waiting to fold these little moments of sadness into something else desperate and untrue. Thank you very much.
Wow, Danielle, those are magnificent. I wrote down the line, "How do we grow to be able to touch where everything started?" And my brain just kind of stopped for a minute after that. And if you also had your brain stopped for a moment and want that feeling again, as we so often do from poetry, you can find Danielle's work in addition to in Shallow Ends, Sundog Lit, Pigeonholes, Barren Magazine, and Glass Poetry, also via her Twitter at Kitties and Stars, KITTIES. NSTARS. So thank you again, Danielle. And today we move on to one of our last live readers of the evening, a Poetry Anxiety returner and also former host of Performance Anxiety, Samuel J. Fox. So Samuel J. Fox is a bisexual essayist and poet living in North Carolina. He's poetry editor at Bending Genres, LLC. That's the duck that was deeply respectful of Danielle's time, which Danielle did not go over. He also appears in numerous online and print journals. So if you want to find more of Samuel's work after this, you can find him on Twitter at Samuel J. Fox. And without further ado, here are his poems live and in person. Thanks, Sam, for being on Performance Anxiety again.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you guys for reading tonight, and thank you for having me. This first poem, most of these poems are new tonight. I'm working on trying to get rid of narrative in my poetry, and I know that sounds weird, but I want to try to focus on the image more, and this is one of those poems I've come up with. It's titled Inquiry About a Photograph. You glanced around in the peculiar light, sanguine-covered leaves raining from a maple, as though transfixed in a moment made from miracle. You are nowhere now that I am, at last, transposing myself into sonata. Ash is being blown away now. Menthol-flavored lips, burnt by the coal placed there in my own volition, to finalize myself as holy for my own eyes. My queerness, the needle of a question you had always been afraid to prick yourself with. The saber swinging in conversation was always in your hands, because I loved you enough to be brought to my knees for you, even if I had to lose something in order to arrive there. You glanced around in the peculiar light, maple leaves blood-sheened, raining the air between us. I loved you then. I love you now, even though I know both our loves are imperfect. Serrated glass, butchered bone, the moon swinging in between us, a wrecking ball. This second poem is titled Fragments, and the poem after that I'll read is titled Fragments as well. The soul split open like a dead sparrow's last pose is useful, though pitiful. It's too bad that a man cannot ensure what fragments of heart are left to be broken. Everything looks beautiful at twilight. Even the barely visible thread, unraveling through what world there is left to save. It is cruel. We give trumpets to the deaf, hoping we can understand what language they can make music from. In cities falling down, we put the blind on sidewalks and wish them on their way through the crowded slurs that curb around them. God is not here, the devil says. Certain, we will not ask who was hired as the interior designer, for hell's vast chasms and ballroom whipping floors. The moon is the last page in some windswept angel's diary. She looks up at its silence and decides not to ruin its depth. It's too bad that what bleeds through sadness isn't enough to clot what ails. Miracles. Miracles everywhere but here. And you. You are nowhere now that I have arrived. A perfect dusting of snow befits the earth with white noise. It isn't worth the waiting, for all bodies are on loan. For simply the world, steadfast, knows only to ache. But in that ache, the sound of a comb running through her hair. And my last poem is again titled Fragments. Thank you guys for having me. Trigger shy. The clouds withhold their water. It's no matter. My shadow says it can read the braille in sleet. The dying cattails swoosh their dumb, beautiful heads in the wind, as though numbers and degrees don't exist to them. The ivy, dead, on the white picket fence needs to be plucked. Elsewise, who could see the white paint behind the dark rose bushes? Random winter lightning scrapes serpentine behind an armada of cloud cover. Somewhere, the devil leaves hoofprints in muddy snow. There is always a war with subtlety inside the self. How to explain grief? It isn't a lack of something. Darkness and absence of light, or silence the lack of petulant sound. Grief cannot be a lack of happiness, if happiness, like a fox, flits back between the swatches of blackberry brambles. You were here once. My jawline remembers your fingernail, as though you scratched a scar in me that I recall as joy. The clouds finally decide enough with patience. Like a telephone at 3 a.m., I don't wish to answer my God. And the rain turns to ice the moment it kisses the pavement. And the power lines, the next morning, will be like finding a garment discarded for years beneath the first place you looked for it. And oh, how I looked for it. All this indelible truth. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Sam. If you're focusing on image in your work right now, it's working beautifully for me. And if you want to read more of Samuel's work, you can find it. You can find him on Twitter at Samuel J. Fox. But you can also find his work collected together through Giacomo Pope's incredible Neutral Spaces project at neutralspaces.co/Samuel J. Fox. So with that, we are actually at our final reader of the evening. So our final reader is Tomasz W. Wisniewski, and Tomasz has taken the time to share a couple of poems with us that I will read in absentia for him. So I'm going to read his bio quickly, and then I'm going to get right into the poems. Tomasz is a poet, writer, rover, lover of thunder and coffee and cemeteries and the howls of wolves, and a proper saboteur of the autobiography. His debut chapbook is now available from Bywords Press. The day October vanished. For AP, ride far, my loving friend. Where to have we shined? Veins full of charcoal, I taste the watery wisdom of the void. The day I learn your birth will forever be celebrated in black. I am told that numbers aren't real. I disagree. Every time I think of October 27th, I'm trapped in sinkholes filled with sleep. I suffer from a loss of appetite for costumes. Ah, the night sweats, November's covetous webbing constricting my family's throat. I recall the first time I could not bear to say, rest in peace. I think about thirsty dogs, the lone angels in the pink heart of the sun that beats upon Guatemalan flowers. I picture the melted zinc oozing out of my eyes, how you and I sang to the robin who would settle your breath in the mud. I must now find the courage to sing our songs alone. You would have hated the music they played at your funeral. I think about the Friday we forgot civilization and crumbled penniless in slush, our bodies' valves turning to the goddess in the street lamp, the shadow she cast on the hard, vast ground, and we heard the echoes of our father. Wear these wings, but remember, you are no comet, my son. The second poem Tomas shared with me is called Checking My Bruise. Hello, Hip. You hurt like hell today. Tell me, do you hurt for everyone you grow attached to? And again, those poems were by Tomasz W. Wisniewski, who shared them with me earlier today or even last night to read as the closing of this month's Performance Anxiety. And if you want to read more of Tomasz's beautiful work, his debut chapbook is available from Bywords Press, and it's called Death is a White Balloon. So very sadly, we've come to the end of our roster of readers for tonight. And in the spirit of thankfulness, we'd like to extend our gratitude to all the amazing poets who shared their work with us this evening, and to every listener out there who has generally given this hour to poetry. We very much hope you'll join us for our next loosely holiday-themed reading on Thursday, December 19th at the same time, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And to close this very special evening of Performance Anxiety, I'm going to read a poem by Linda Pastan that I hope will come to mind in a week's time if you're in the U.S., if you celebrate Thanksgiving, and if you haven't yet gotten your turkey to thaw. And I'd like to dedicate the recitation of this poem to Joe. This poem is called Meditation by the Stove. I have banked the fires of my body into a small but steady blaze. Here in the kitchen, where the dough has a life of its own, breathing under its damp cloth like a sleeping child, where the real child plays under the table, pretending the tablecloth is a tent, practicing departures, where a dim brown bird, dazzled by light, has flown into the window pane and lies stunned on the pavement. It was never simple, even for birds, this business of nests. The innocent eye sees nothing, Auden says, repeating what the snake told Eve, what Eve told Adam, tired of gardens, wanting the fully lived life. But passion happens like an accident. I could let the dough spill over the rim of the bowl, neglecting to punch it down, neglecting the child who waits under the table, the mild tears already smudging her eyes. We grow in such haphazard ways. Today I feel wiser than the bird. I know the window shuts me in, that when I open it, the garden smells will make me restless. And I have banked the fires of my body into a small domestic flame for others to warm their hands on for a while.